Dear students, I hope you are all well and studying in your home. Last week we were discussed about the chapter pollination and fertilization in which we read and understand the types of pollination, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Today we will discuss about the agents of pollination. So what are the different agents of pollination? So you can see agents of pollination and the term used for it. Wind is a term used is anemophily, and if pollination is done by water it known as hydrophily, and if it is occurred by animals it is known as zoophily, and is it also of many types. Suppose in animals it is carried out by insects it is called entomophily, and if it is carried out by birds it is known as ornithophily, by bats is called pteropterophily, and snail by malacophily. If it is done by man it is known as artificial pollination. Now we will read about them in detail. Anemophily. Flowers pollinated by wind have the following characteristics. Usually they are neither large nor showy or bright colored. The corolla is usually small and inconspicuous. They are not scented. Okay, this is the first feature for the anemophily and flower which is pollinated by wind, because they just pollinated by wind, so they no need to attract the insects. That's why they are not in very much bright in color, and they are not very large, and their corolla also in small size, and they have not a aroma or scent to attract the insects, because they just pollinated by the wind, so they do not need all these things. Second is the statement having long filaments sway easily with the wind. Okay, their filaments also long. The pollens are produced in very large quantities. Fourth character is the pollen grains produced are very light in weight. They are usually provided with wings. Okay, because they are very lighter, so they can easily carried away with the wind. The stigmas are usually large and feathery. The style is long enough to expose the stigma well above the flower. Often the flower appear and mature before new leaves arise. It avoids interference by the leaves. So the examples, if you find these plants around your house or in your field, you can see maize plant, bamboo or pine. Okay, so if you see these plants you can easily understand how they will be made for the wind pollination. In such cases, the following characteristics are found. Okay, sorry. First, we see the example of wind pollination in maize. In maize, the cluster of male flower are born at the apex, as you see in figure. Okay, male inflorescence is here, and the flowers arise in the apex. The female flower are born near the base in the axial of the plants. So you can see female inflorescence is here. The male flower produces large quantities of pollen grains. As the anthers burst, the light and dry pollen grains are blown by the wind. Many of them land on the silky and feathery stigma of neighboring plant, hence bringing about cross pollination. So you can see here two plants is here, and this is a male plant. Okay, this is male plant and this is a female plant. So whenever these pollen grains are blown away with the wind, it is goes into the stigma. Okay, and cross pollination is occurred. Now we move to the next type of pollination. It is known as hydrophily. Flowers are pollinated by water in case of aquatic plants such as hydrilla, Vallisneria, etc. In such cases, the following characteristics are found. Okay, for plants which are pollinated by water, these type of characteristics is found. First is plant are dioecious. Okay, plant are dioecious. Second is plants are small and inconspicuous. They are not scented as well. Okay, and pollen grains are produced in large quantities. The pollen grains have the same specific gravity as that of water, so that they can float in water. In some cases, the male flower detach and float on water till they meet the female flower. So they are the some characteristics of flower which were pollinated by the wind. Okay, they are dioecious, means male and female plants are different, and flowers are small, and they are not scented as well because they are also carried just out by water. They only need water for pollination. In Vallisneria, pollination is very interesting. The plants are dioecious. The female or pistillate flower have long stalks, whereas the male staminate flower have short stalks. Okay, as we seen in the anemophily, in which the male flower is usually tall. Okay, but in this case, the stalks of the male flower is short. Before pollination, the male flower detach from the parent plant. They are carried by water currents up to the female flower. In this way, pollination takes place when the anther bursts open, setting the pollen grains free after striking stigmas. You can see here examples also. Okay, these are the floating male flowers. You can see here, and this is female flower in which this stigma is opened, and these flowers is goes through this, and pollination will occur. Next is zoophily. Cross pollination caused by animals is called zoophily. Depending upon the agent used, cross pollination is characterized as entomophily by insects, ornithophily by birds, and chiropterophily by bats, malicophily by snails. In malacophyly, it is carried out by snails and artificial by man. So first we go through the details with entomophily. It is the insect pollinated flower having the following characteristics. Okay, day blooming flower have either very bright colored attractive corolla, example is crotalaria, and small florets grouped into a head, that is in found in sunflower. Okay, so as we know, in these plants the pollination is carried out by insects, and for that they have to be in bright colored, and their florets will be arranged in a group like a head. Or some other conspicuous features like colored bracts, okay, bougainvillea example, so as to attract the insects. Okay, in bougainvillea is the flower in which uh, feature colored bracts are found. Okay, night blooming flowers. Okay, this is the example of first one is for day blooming. It means which blooms out in the daytime. And night blooming flower are often white colored but strongly scented. Jasmine, coffee, etc. Okay, so the reason of their scent, it could be in dark when it is night. Flower the insects will be come to do pollination with the help of their scent. Flower have nectaries which secrete nectar, a sugary fluid. The insects which come in search of nectar also carry pollen grains from one flower to another. Such flowers are called nectar flowers. Okay, so in this case, you can see, you also see this as a honeybee. They collect the nectars from the plant, and it goes from one plant to another plants or different plants in search of nectar. Okay, so they also carry pollen grains with their wings and facilitate the process of pollination. Next is the flower produce a small number of pollens. The insects visit these flowers to eat the pollen grains which serve as food for them. Okay, and next is the pollen grains have rough sticky surface. They have a rough sticky surface also. The surface of stigma is also sticky as in the flower of China rose, lotus and roses. So you can see these flower easily, okay, outside your home and in your home also. So there is a special type of insect pollination found in salvia. Okay, this is a plant. So we will discuss about that. Pollination in saliva is brought about by bees, for which it has specialized floral mechanism. The flower has a two-leaved corolla with two protandous stamens attached to the corolla tube. You can see its corolla is like this is shaped. Okay, this type of shape is found. It is two lipped type of corolla and protandous stamen. Okay, as last chapter we will read about the protandous means in which stamens mature early than gynoecium. Okay, only one lobe of each other is fertile, whereas the other sterile lobe forms a plate. Okay, one lobe is fertile only. It lies at the mouth of the flower just above the lip of the corolla. When the insect or bee enters the corolla tube, it pushes the lower sterile another anther lobe upwards. The fertile lobe swings down by lever mechanism and dusts the back of the bee with a cloud of pollen. When the bees visited another flower, it transferred the pollen to a mature stigma, thus causing cross pollination. So you can see this example. Okay, it's sit back here, and this uh, anther, you can see this is fertile anther, and it comes just as it sit here, and it comes down, and stamens are attached in their wings, and when it goes to next flower it will be pollinated. Okay, insect pollination in Pisum sativum or pea plant. The sweet pea is pollinated by bumblebee. Okay, the flower has five petals, one large outer or uppermost petal, two lateral petals, and two innermost keel petals. You can see five petals are found in Pisum sativum. You can see easily in your home also. The bees are attached by color, scent, and nectar. The two lateral wings petals act as landing platform for the bee. When the bee lands on the wing petal, the keel petal are also pushed down because of the weight of the bee. So you can see here example, also see figure carefully and you can understand. As a result, the stamens and stigma touch the undersurface of the bee that may be carrying pollens from another flower. It may transfer some of the pollen to the stigma, thus causing cross pollination. Okay, so it just pass through its pollens into the another plant. So there are some comparison of insect and wind pollinated flower you can read from your home. Okay, and these are we just read about them, what are their characteristics, and for their conclusion you can easily find their difference also. Okay, in next chapter we move to the ornithophily and some other insect pollination types. Thank you. If you have any query or you have any confusion, you can ask anytime. Thank you.